All right, just thought I'd show you guys a little trick to fix. This is just a $500 car here that I picked up to tow behind my RV. So I'm not really concerned about it being fully up to standard with the cosmetics, but I had a busted up bumper here. And so what I did is I V-grooved this, all these holes I drilled, and I did a little, I drilled all these holes, and then I did a little V-groove, and then I used stainless steel lock wire to stitch it, you know. And there was a big chunk missing out of here, so I just filled that out with some expanding foam, a little bit on the outside, a little bit on the inside, a little bit on the outside. And so what I'm going to do is once this is dry, I'm going to file it down a little bit with sandpaper, and it's just going to give me a base for something to do, a little bit of fiberglass underneath, and then Bondo it smooth. And having V-grooved it, this will be a lot easier to hide as well, and probably plenty solid for the amount of years that this thing is going to be driving for. Should be fine. So I'll show you guys when I'm done. Here we are back after some sanding and a little bit of filler over this expanding foam. So what I did is I took this belt sander. I use this to file down whenever I got some really heavy stuff to remove. Works pretty good. I'm using, like, I think that's 40 grit, so really rough. And I basically just kind of worked it and trying to match the shape of the other side as much as possible. This is just really the preliminary coat. And what I actually use is a product called Fast Weld. It's a 2-part epoxy. What's important is it's epoxy base, because if it's polyester base, if I would have gone straight with the body filler over the foam, it would have melted the foam. So this epoxy, I mixed it on my mixing board, and I added it a little bit of a chopped strand. Like, I just took a piece of fiberglass cloth, cut it up into a little bit of, made little like 1-inch strands, and mixed a little bit of that with the epoxy, and then that gave it a little bit of strength so it doesn't crack too easily, you know. So then I overlapped. I kind of had sanded down a little past the cracked area, and then so bonded above it a little further. Anyway, so that gives it sort of a base for the Bondo that's a little more strong than just Bondo by itself. So that's the way I'm going with this. And these, I think, are strong enough. I think I'll just Bondo right over these, just sand this down, kind of roughen it up so that the Bondo has something to adhere to, and just fill those and try to hide them. Like I've already, like I mentioned before, grooved them in, so I'm going to try to make this as smooth as possible for the Bondo, and then I'll primer over it before paint. So that's where I'm at with that. So here we are after our first coat of Bondo, and see how I kind of tried to achieve the same shape as original there. Still needs another thin coat to kind of hide these little voids that I created, but we're getting there. So until the next step. All right, here we are after painting this and sanding it all down and shaping it. I've been driving it around for a couple of weeks, but yeah, this is the result. Obviously, I did a quick base coat, clear coat with an airbrush. Didn't do a great match there, so I'm gonna have to pull this thing off and paint the whole thing. I got enough paint to paint the entire bumper, so I'll do that later on. But just that hole at least is covered up and looks decent now. So just thought I'd show you guys the result.